Hello, welcome. So today is going to be primarily a review of my trading day on July 8th, as well as I'm going to speak more specifically about my management of my R multiple with regards to, how I'm scaling in and out of trades with my significantly reduced risk now. And also I'm just going to be talking about some general updates with life. So let's get into it. This first trade here was from the Steel channel. I grabbed these pivots from here, right, and I took that same gradient, the same angle of that line, put it to the top. We broke it, we retested here, we failed, we broke back down, probably trapped some people, broke up again. Your stop would have to be below here, or maybe a few points there if you entered here. And then we reclaimed it with some support here, and I entered. And the thing is these days that my risk has been so significantly reduced. I'm trading with like a 10-point stop, maximum like 13, 14 points on the NASDAQ. And this is in contrast to it being upwards of 30 points, 25 points on some trades in the past. And my psychology has drastically improved as each loss feels so much less impactful. The magnitude of each of those losses is so heavily reduced because my risk is less than half of what it used to be. So a losing trade feels so much more manageable now, rather than in the past it was, oh my gosh, I had a losing trade, it's an absolute nightmare and I need to recover from it. So this is where R multiple comes in, right? And it's something I'm still working on. I think I did a very good job on this trade in particular of letting this trade run until I had at least over 2R, and from there I started taking profits. So I was very happy with how I managed this first trade, as well as the entry being quite clean. This trade here was this yellow, which you can see from here, 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 and here. And someone asked me about anti-algo, so in another video. So real quick, these two pivots here, see how we break back down? Anti-algo, right? And the breakout of the channel fails, and it breaks back in. So this yellow is taken from here and here, right? Just connect these dots, boom. And we have this OCBNR, which I call it, right? It's just like a quick one candle retest rather than an actual structural retest. And typically those don't give as quite a big move, which means that you would have to be protecting at least some at the structural level. And I did, meaning, in other words, I put it to break even. And I got, what was that, like a 2-point loss, 2.5-point loss? I should have put it less than break even. Which was fine. I do want to, as I develop this new way of profit taking, be a bit more discretionary about, how am I going to manage this trade? Is this a bigger profit target? Is this a smaller one? But overall, I'm really focusing on being less apprehensive about and scared about giving away profits. I think I kind of went too far to the other side of the pendulum where, oh my gosh, this trade hit 1R. There's no way I can let it go back to break even. The candle turned red for like half a second. Let me just take it off at 0.9R, 0.8R. Oh, I'll just take half R. Please let me get out, And it's just this sort of manic, high pressure stress about micromanaging every single trade rather than letting it breathe. And that's what I'm working on right now. This third trade was the bottom of the red channels, right? Boom, boom, pivot to the top. So we wick it, retest, never continue, start wicking it. And here's where a little bit of patience could have helped me as right when that bar turned green, I believe I entered. And we did break above it though, so I can't imagine myself entering there, but I know from experience that you have to wait for this white. Wait, see how it holds, holds, holds. You wait for this white to break out, hold support. See how it holds, and it's always, quite often, I'm noticing this pattern, this like just doji holding support, and you buy above the doji. Why can't you just freaking wait long? See, so easy. I know this perfect. I know this well. OCBNR on white. Um, but I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out, and I paid for it with a, what is that, 9 point loss? This is the thing, is when I'm doing these, when I'm really working at my R multiple well, this loss wasn't that impactful, and I'm so used to each loss hurting my P&L or hurting my ego, and now the losses just feel so manageable, and this is the next level for me. I'm already like feeling very comfortable with my entries, my analysis. Overall, I don't lose my ass, I don't tilt. I've worked very hard to get rid of that and make that, get absolutely destroy that demon outside of me. But I do still struggle with this. I struggle with the occasional, much better than before, but the occasional, let's find out what happens sort of trade, where and I know that not to take this. I know that if it rejects the top channel, you have to wait for it to reclaim, unless you have a very nice structure, and which I didn't have here. So we break, fail, anti-algo, reclaim, and then we start holding. We form like a very nice structure here. Nested cup, handle, and then another cup, handle. And this was something I had to take, and my intuition sort of just guided me forward with this trade as well, where I entered right here. Both on this trade and this trade, I entered within like seconds of Eric. And it does really come from watching charts. I mean, I could have entered when this bar here turned green, and my stop would have been below here. I would have never been stopped out, but something about entering right here, right as the trade starts going in your favor, perfect entry. And I just waited. I saw this volume. See, we have the volume here, volume. Sorry. There was this lack of volume, just decreasing volume, and I bought right above that doji. And here I took profits at white, which was about 1R, a little over 1R. But the issue with that is that, look, I need to be taking profits at 2R, right? At 3R, 4R, 5R. If it hits 1R, set it to break even. And this is what I did. However, on this trade, I had a structural reason to be exiting here. I mean, you can see this, right? Resistance, 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 resistance. It's a very strong trend line. Now, we were coming up to it on high volume, nice big bull bars, great, like all day long market structure. It does look like it's going to break. And yes, you can make the argument, it depends on ultimately on the kind of person you are and the kind of trader you are. You can make the argument, just protect the trade. I didn't exit the full position. I exited 2/3 of my position. I probably could have exited just half and kept the other half break even, but I exited 2/3. And it was from that where this trade went to like, I don't know, 5R, 6R. It could have been an absolutely massive trade. And that's fine. I am working on this. I'm learning this. I still have my training from structure. I know that we're coming up on that resistance. And I was like, let me just take off and protect a little bit here. And in this case, that ended up, quote unquote, in hindsight, it's easy to say, oh man, you could have held, blah, blah, blah. But I probably would do something like that again, especially if I knew very clearly that this white was a very strong resistance. So this is going to be quite a journey of figuring out, how I want to be managing trades. But I think I'm going to figure it out all right. Because this is the next big step for me. I was for so long a 1R trader, and I was also a 3R trader, but I was giving back so much profit. So I kind of went too far to the other side. And yeah, that concludes today. I felt pretty relaxed. That's 4 trades in about 2.5, 3 hours. I enjoyed the break from July 4th. It felt good to be back. It felt good to be in front of the screen. I missed it. I miss it. And I don't feel stressed. This is probably one of the biggest things for me. I was so anxious going into every trading day for so long. anxious about my performance, how I would be perceived, um, if I would make any mistakes or not, if I would, just doing dumb shit. And now I was just like, oh, okay, we trade tomorrow. And this is really like, having people around you that you can talk to about trading is just the most powerful thing. And it's one thing to have a mentor. Obviously having someone like Eric, like it doesn't get better than it literally does not get better than that. But in a sense, Eric is, I mean, he's Eric, right? He's really on a different level. And having other people that are on the same level, dealing with the same things as you, struggling with the same things as you, it's so, it can be so eye-opening in ways that I would have not imagined. And this is one thing that I've learned is I see some people and the way they trade, the way they approach the market is almost like, I don't want to use the word chill, or nonchalant, but it really is. And it's not like they're not working hard. It's not like they're not busting their ass. But everything is done as if it's just like clockwork, right? Like they probably have this, and if you just look at them, you wouldn't be able to tell that they're trading. You think they're just like sitting in front of the computer watching like YouTube. And their whole demeanor, the way they talk, and is so at peace. And I think that's a huge sign of trading maturity, is just being at peace. Because there's so much you can worry about. I see some people, and I this used to be me, right? And I'm not saying this is bad, but from my experience, I realize this is not for me. I see some people who will do like a freaking 50-minute long, write out like a 50-minute long trade plan that they'll never even follow, and then account for every single news thing on like to the second, and go out of their way to have like 8 different screens, and then look at every single chart of random stocks that they probably don't even know what the company actually does, and then have all of this like just getting through their pre-market plan takes like 50 minutes, because it's so complicated and it's so convoluted, and because there's just so much in this, right? There's so much in trading and in the market that there's no way one person can deal with it all. It's overwhelming as a retail trader. So you have to just learn to cut the BS and keep what works for you. Yeah, and there was this guy today, and he was like, oh, and then you have to be like super on it about all of these events, half of them which like don't even move the market, and every single pre-market plan, rereading and reading like an entire. I used to do this. I used to read like a page-long flow chart in between each trade of like, and it would like make me rethink my life of like the amount of stuff I was reading on that flow chart, right? Of like, what do I have to account for in each trade? And I think that if you're really struggling with impulsive trading, if you're really like not sure what the hell is, like, I don't know, then that's good. Like, sure, give that a shot. But I think for most of us that do that sort of stuff, we're probably hurting ourselves. There was a good quote saying that, like, when you trade, thinking in trading is, when you think it's meant for after hours. You're only supposed to think after hours. When it's time to trade, you should be just executing. You should just be focusing on executing, and your edge should be so second nature that there's no thinking. And this is really what Eric told me, because I used to overthink so much. I used to really like, almost with a freaking like calculator trying to figure out like what next trade to take next. And Eric just said, he always said, you overthink, you overthink, you overthink. It was the biggest thing, and it's been the biggest thing in my life. I've always overthink. I've always been someone to overthink, whether it be in with friends or what I'm going to eat for my next meal, or music or day trading. I mean, I've always been like that, and it really is just. He said to me, he said, professionals, they just do it. It's just by practice and repetition and intuition and skill. There's no real thinking involved. They're not straining their brain, overdoing it, you know? But, yeah, that's where I'm at on that. Um, and honestly, your mental state matters so much in trading. You cannot be dealing with a lot of personal volatility and be able to trade well. And I've read this in books. I've seen so many people share stories about this, and I've watched videos of people talking about that. But the reality is that you really don't know until you experience it firsthand. Because I think a lot of the people who come into trading are very entrepreneurial, very hardworking, and they're the exact same kinds of people that when the going gets tough, when when shit hits the fan and things get worse for them, they're the exact kind of people who are going to push and trade more and trade harder and keep fighting. And if you're working in a different industry, maybe that works. Maybe that'll help you get by. But in trading, you will suffer, and you will pay the price, and you will get punished. And this is really an incredible realization I've had, and it was something that I had to experience firsthand. My mental, just my sleep, literally my sleep and the way I eat and how I eat, the food that I eat, is just like night and day from what it was just a few weeks ago. And I feel better. I think better. And this is all because of my work and living situation with expenses and a new place and blah blah blah. All of that has changed so drastically, and I knew there would be this period of great uncertainty and stress, and really I was angry quite a lot of the time because of the people I was dealing with and the situations I was dealing with, and it would just live in my head, and I would dream about it, and I would think about it, and I would eat it, and I would still think about it, and I would, and I'm in a place where all of that is, 90% of that, 95% of that is gone, and I've regained so much of my old self, and I'm finding joy in things that I used to find joy in that make me feel so much more human, make me feel so much more at peace and alive. Because I really just was like a shell of a human, a carcass of myself, just going to work, coming home, really engaging in not so great habits, and not really treating myself well. I would just eat garbage food and sleep terribly. I wasn't doing anything good for myself. And it's because I also felt like my worth, was not there, but I've rebuilt so much. And I already talked a lot about that. There's no point in talking about that, but I do want to talk about now is like, I feel like I'm like 85%, 90% of the way back to human, to being someone that's like, oh my gosh, I'm like proud of myself. I'm back to eating really properly. I don't even crave the junk food anymore. I don't crave the like slop, you just like chips for dinner and like candy. And you stop eating that stuff, and it's like, oh my god, what the hell was I doing even touching that? I'm eating very healthy. I'm exercising again. I'm sleeping well. And it's a quote unquote, in some ways it may be a harder, less free way to live, but it's not. You feel more free because you're not a slave to those, carnal desires of I just want as much sugar and salt and not do anything. I don't even know. I can't really call those carnal desires, but you're not a slave your to your weaknesses, and you have the discipline and the strength to be in control and in power of yourself, and you feel empowered. You feel worthwhile, and that is so freeing. That is so liberating. And so I work in 8 hours, so I'm gonna get to sleep. No, 9 hours. It doesn't matter. But I'm gonna get to sleep. I have a lot of cleaning to do tomorrow. I likely won't be trading. So that's that. Thank you for listening.